The U.S. has recorded up to 25,000 new cases a day for the past week. It is the global epicenter of the pandemic, with more than 1.6 million confirmed cases. And the death toll is getting closer to 100,000 people. But the lives lost are more than just a number. This is the front page of today's New York Times. It listed 1,000 names and something to remember them by. Keep in mind, this represents only 1% of the overall death toll. The publication calls it an incalculable loss. That was meant to serve as a reality check. And still, many churches in the U.S. are allowing parishioners to return to places where close gatherings can only make the pandemic worse. President Donald Trump has deemed places of worship an essential service, despite orders from some governors to keep them closed. As Jennifer Johnson reports, analysts believe Trump is appealing to his conservative base as he gets ready for an election.
We are so glad you're here.
From Arizona to Minnesota to New Jersey, U.S. houses of worship are once again opening their doors.
There's nothing like just gathering again and just seeing friends and family.
Yeah.
But there are new precautions, greeters in face masks.
How you doing? Welcome to church.
Some limiting the number of attendees, handshaking and hugging discouraged, services spaced out to allow for cleaning time.
People coming to our church will have a touchless temperature taken. Anybody 100.4 and above would not be able to come into the church building. Everybody coming into the church building will wear masks.
On Friday, U.S. President Donald Trump, in an apparent appeal to his conservative base, declared houses of worship essential, the president overstepping the constitutional rights and legal powers of 50 state leaders.
If they don't do it, I will override the governors.
That same day, a federal appeals court backed California governor's ban on in-church services. But other Democratic governors reluctantly gave in, even as COVID-19 cases continue to rise in their states.
We've got work to do. This is not over. We have no vaccine. We still have no clear-cut therapeutics.
Public health experts warn houses of worship are uniquely prone to spreading COVID-19 if strict social distancing rules aren't followed. In March, one positive choir member in Seattle infected over 50 members. 2 died. But some health officials recognize the mental health benefits of reopening.
Mindful that worship is special, plays a special role in health and well-being.
It's unclear whether this controversial move will cause a rise in COVID-19 cases. Supporters of reopenings point to preliminary data from Georgia, the first U.S. state to open businesses last month, showing no major spike in COVID-19 cases. Worship leaders pray that will hold true for their congregations too. Jennifer Johnson, Global News, Washington.
What happened at a church in Germany is an example of what can happen. More than 40 people who attended a church service in Frankfurt have contracted COVID-19. Officials say physical distancing rules were followed and the church was disinfected prior to the service. Tonight, there are more than 180,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Germany, and more than 8,000 people have died. Spain is set to ease its lockdown in Madrid and Barcelona starting tomorrow. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez made the announcement as protests took place calling for his resignation over the Spanish government's nationwide lockdown, which was one of the toughest in the world and had a huge impact on jobs and the economy. In July, Spain plans to allow international tourism. Over the border in France, the government there is warning its citizens not to travel abroad, suggesting they take their summer holidays near home because around the world the numbers are staggering, particularly in Russia, which reported 153 deaths in the last 24 hours. There are now more than 340,000 confirmed cases in that country. But Brazil has overtaken Russia, becoming the second worst affected country in the world, with 350,000 cases. More than 22,000 deaths. And there are fears cases will continue to rise in Afghanistan, which topped 10,000 today, as Muslims begin to celebrate Eid, which is the end of Ramadan.
The new series that goes inside the COVID-19 pandemic, from the front lines to the everyday heroes helping us cope with the unprecedented change. Coronavirus, the new reality. A Global News special, Sundays at 7 on Global.